Surviving Mars' recent Cernan update has polished an already impressive expansion. In case you missed it, it is finally possible to terraform Mars. So naturally, we're going to attempt that in one of the coldest, harshest, northernmost settlement locations while dealing with 3 rival colonies and a potential rogue AI. Nothing to worry about at all. Hello, Legion. It's Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play Surviving Mars Green Planet, also featuring the new Project Laika DLC. This series is going to be called Red Winter, because I'm going to found a colony that's a little northern, up where, well, I just want to be where the water is. Just to be safe. Perfectly reasonable course of action. Nothing is going to go wrong whatsoever. And by nothing, I mean there will be plenty of cold snaps and other survival challenges, which we'll talk about as we make our way toward a greener, prettier, gentler Martian landscape. It's been a while since I've played Surviving Mars for the channel, so I'm going to do what I can to explain what I'm doing as I go for those of you who either have not seen the latest versions of the game or have never even heard of the game and you're wondering what you're even watching at the moment. Hopefully, regardless of where you fall on that spectrum, you'll be able to follow along. Basically, this is the best survival/simulation hybrid that I've ever played. And I have played Green Planet, by the way, enough to turn Mars mostly green in practice playthroughs, so this isn't a blind run. I do somewhat know what I'm doing, but I'm going to set up some challenges for myself as well. Let's jump into a new game, and I'll talk more about what I mean by that. So when you start a new game of Surviving Mars, you have several choices to make, including those beyond this screen that determine the overall difficulty rating of what you're going to do. So your first choice is your mission sponsor, and you'll notice the very first line is difficulty. If you're new to the game, one thing I just want to point out very quickly so that there's no confusion is just because I choose International Mars Mission, which I'm not going to do, doesn't mean that I will have a very easy playthrough. I can choose International Mars Mission, and that means the baseline difficulty is very easy, but every other decision I make in the game setup can be very, very challenging, very hard. It can be to set up the game to just punish me as much as possible. So it doesn't mean that every game is the International Mars Mission will be super easy. That being said, we are going to go with a bit of a traditional approach. We're going to go with Space Y, which is of course a clever tongue-in-cheek plug to a certain company which exists here in the real world. And the difficulty, as you can see, will start out as normal. What these choices determine really is how much funding your colony starts out with, so how much money you have to do stuff, and then starting applicants, so how many people are in your initial pool of applicants that you can select from to make sure that you have the best colonists to start off life on Mars, human life on Mars. And as Project Laika introduces, more than just human life, you can have pets, you can have animals, you can have livestock and cattle. So that's all to come in this series as well. You also, as you can see, determine your research per soul, so research per day. The reason it's soul instead of day is that a Martian day is, of course, what is it, almost 25 hours, 25 Earth hours, so it's slightly longer than the Earth day. And then rare metals sell for different prices depending on who you're playing as. And then there's all kinds of unique bonuses depending on who you choose for your mission sponsor. As Space Y, we will have the Dragon rocket. This has smaller cargo capacity, but it is faster and requires less fuel. And then the solar array is a large cluster of solar panels that have lower maintenance cost, but are vulnerable to dust storms. Drone hubs will start with additional drones and will have 50% cheaper advanced resources. Now, the drone hubs piece you're going to want to remember because that's part of... There's a method to my madness here. I have played as Space Y in the past. I've done it on at least 1 or 2 other series, but again, there's a reason for that, which I'm going to talk about, well, right now. So when you choose your commander profile, this is the next layer of customization. So it's basically giving yourself a few extra bonuses based on what kind of person the leader of your colony is. You're not literally playing as the leader. I mean, there's an argument that you are, but really you're just like any city builder. You're just kind of in control of everything that happens. And if you see yourself as the leader, what are the bonuses, right, that you get by being whatever you are? Are you an inventor? Are you a psychologist? Are you an ecologist, astrogeologist? So I know that because we're playing Green Planet, you might think, okay, well, you're going to go with geoengineer, but you didn't go with the terraforming initiative on the mission sponsor screen, so what are you going to do here? Exactly. We're going to go with some of the older choices here. And based on what I was saying about drones, which you might recall from 5 seconds ago, drones are gradually optimized to work and construct faster until Sol 100 when you choose the Inventor Commander profile, and you have autonomous hubs. So drone hubs will no longer require power or maintenance. When you are in a place where the power is likely to go out because of cold snaps, you don't want all of your colony's ability to do stuff in the meantime to just be completely lost. And the ability to run a drone hub with no power or maintenance is a huge part of that. So we're going to go with Inventor as our commander profile. Now, notice that puts the difficulty challenge all the way up to 240. We started it out at 120 when we had the other kind of default selections set up. So now we're going to go to a mystery. We'll skip past the logo because we're good with space Y. So for the mystery, as you might recall my mentioning as well, we are going to go with artificial intelligence. Bit of an interesting backstory to occur, which I haven't played through before. I usually turn off mysteries when I'm playing off of YouTube just because I like building the colony, but I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of narrative going on as we build. So we will have the artificial intelligence mystery going. 3 rival colonies, completely random. I don't care who they are. We just want to make sure that we have some good space race content in there. That was the first full expansion for Surviving Mars, which came out a while ago. Didn't cover that on the channel, which is why I'm so excited to be jumping in to Green Planet today. Game rules, you have a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to customize, make the game easier or harder or just more interesting. I'm going to just leave these alone. We're going to go with basic rules because, again, this is my first time playing in a while, and I really just want to see what the game is like in its current incarnation without tweaking too much, which is part of the reason we went with some of the more basic original mission sponsor and profile choices. So, enough of that. Let's go with our very first rocket. This is Dragon number 1. Prefab-wise, we are starting with 2 drone hubs, which is nice, and a Stirling generator. I will probably go ahead and order an additional rocket with a fuel refinery. The question is, do I want to just set it up to where, well, no. I don't think that's necessary here. Again, our cargo capacity on these things is more limited compared to the typical rocket. So we can order more because we have a bunch of rockets. We're space-wide. But we just need to be careful what we put on each rocket and how quickly we get some of the other stuff to the surface. And I'll explain some of those choices when we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, so to speak. So we're going to start out with the RC transport, which is fine by me. 4 drones, 10 of polymers, machine parts, and electronics, which are advanced resources. The more basic resources are concrete, metals, and food. And then we will have 2 orbital probes. Next, I have a particular location picked out already, and that is at, what do I have here? 45 north, 27 west. Again, way up north. So we have just huge threat of cold waves, a little bit of threat of meteors, minimal threat from dust storms and dust devils, because again, this is about being up near where the water is. This is the very first Martian colony that we're going to use to bring human beings to Mars and eventually terraform the planet. So from a challenge and role-playing perspective, I thought it would be most interesting to have a colony up near where the water is, near the North Poles, where there's more of an argument that you could find water ice and things to survive on when you're in that situation of trying to colonize Mars. Notice that puts our difficulty challenge all the way up to 355%. So this series is going to be interesting. Again, I have played recently-ish. It's been a couple of weeks since I picked it up because I've been playing some other stuff. But yeah. Now that I'm looking at that difficulty challenge, I'm like, oh God, what have I done? So that is where we're going to start our colony, and we will begin.
Welcome to Mars.
Okay, so that's just an introduction to our mission. Let's go ahead and pause the game right away. That's an important tip, by the way, if you're new to the game will start out at speed 1. When you begin your first day. So if you want to make your first decisions without rushing things too much, it can be really handy to just make sure that you pause the game right away so that not too much time passes in your first day while you're looking around. So it looks like we have 1 tile revealed already with a decent amount. How much metal? 71 metal. Not a bad start, and very low grade concrete, so that's going to dissipate quickly. But it is 2,309 concrete. So we have a lot of concrete and metal to start out with. Let's go ahead and probe a couple of, oh, hey, nice. We already have an anomaly. A couple of nearby locations. All right, there's some more concrete, and it looks like 47 more metal. Not nearly as much concrete, but perhaps a higher grade. Okay. And then we need to set up our first scan. So why don't we go ahead and be scanning that sector, then that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And then I suppose we could go that direction or so. So we have to choose our first text to research as well. All of this is mostly randomized, each playthrough. And as you research a technology, and it takes, again, based on how many research you are producing per soul, and you'll see how we can augment this. You can already see, actually, if you are reading these details, and I'll explain what each of these do in a moment. But as you research a technology in each branch of this tree, a random next technology in the same branch will be unlocked. So obviously this screen looks different than it used to, but it functions very much as it always has. What I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and order outsourcing. So this is something I usually do at the beginning of my Surviving Mars playthroughs. Because we're playing on such high difficulty, we want to make sure we have as much research happening as quickly as possible. So for the next 5 Martian days, we are going to have an additional 1,000 research per day. So let's go ahead and just do that. So now we have, instead of 200, we have 1,200 research per soul. So now it's just a matter of choosing which technologies we want to go first. We could go with this to increase research provided by our sponsor. I think I will do that since that's our first option. That's not always the case, and that will make sure that our research happens as quickly as possible going forward. Terraforming tech we will go for soon-ish, but I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and finish that tech as well because it's halfway done. Biotech starts out at 51% completion, so we'll go ahead and do that. Rockets and shuttles requiring less fuel, let's do that next. RC transports, and then this. So you don't have to do it this way, but one of the reasons that I'm picking a technology from every branch to fill up the queue is that I want to know what all of my options are in every single branch that we have. So let's close out the research menu, and then we have selected a sector to scan. Terraforming introduction, I'll introduce you guys to that myself. So now for the fun part. Let's land our very first rocket here. So we have to make sure that the outer blue ring is our drone range. So the drones that fly in with our rocket are going to be limited to what is in range of the drone commander, which in this case is the rocket. We will set up a drone hub, so we'll have a planet-side drone commander that will also produce more drones when it finishes its construction. You might remember that we have 2 on the rocket. So I think what I'm going to do, as much as I want that metal right there, I want to be a little bit closer to, let's see. I try to land my first rocket in a spot where I can see myself putting like the first landing pads for the colony. Yeah, that looks about right. Let's go ahead and land you there, and we'll unpause. So the game is telling me things that I've already found. We'll stay on speed 1 for just a second, but once the game gets going, especially in coming episodes, you're going to see me playing on speed 2 and 3 a lot. Surviving Mars is kind of like Stellaris in that once you get used to playing on higher speeds, playing on quote-unquote regular speed just feels weirdly slow. Oh, let me change one thing really quickly. We're going to pause and go to just standard Surviving Mars colors, please. Close. All right, so that did change the colors of our rockets and our RC transport immediately, but just I prefer the traditional white colors when I'm playing Surviving Mars. You can have lots of other options if you want to see what they are. I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. I really wish there were more options and that you could do a little bit more with it, but for now, that's what they are. All right, so now we have our very first transport drone. Before I unpause the game, let's make a few decisions on where stuff's going. First of all, I like to place a drone hub right behind. There will be a point to this. Just trust me with this. But remember, these don't require maintenance, so I don't have to worry about the drone hub getting blasted by the rocket when it takes off. And that thing is going to be completely autonomous. So that's going to be handy. Now, the next thing is we're going to build, no, not pipes, cables. There we go. Now that's blocked. So what I want to do is have a power cord going roughly out to there or so. And to there. So now you're seeing why I landed the rocket where I did, maybe. All right, so those look actually about equal length. That is accidental. Well, no, there might be one short, but that's okay. So now that we've got those down, there are a few other things we have to place. We'll worry about the second drone hub later, but we can place sensor towers, which I need to have up as soon as possible. So let's go ahead and just throw down 2 of those right there. The more sensor towers you have, the more quickly you'll be able to scan nearby areas. So I don't want to do more than 2 until we can eliminate maintenance on those, so they're not chewing up my advanced resources, but it's handy to have 2 to start out. We'll put a landing pad down once this rocket has taken off. Okay, now for the big questions. I think the very first thing we're going to need is a concrete extractor. I think I'm going to start us on the smaller deposit that has a higher grade of concrete. I know there's not enough power right now, but we will soon fix that. We do have a Stirling generator to start us off, so let's make sure, first of all, The Sterling generator is outside the range. Oh, perfect. Hang on. Perfect. Okay. I've literally got my finger on my screen right now. We're going to put the Sterling generator right there. It is outside the dust range of both the rocket and the concrete extractor. You don't want that thing near any dust range. So notice, by the way, our map, we have this giant kind of divot in the middle. I did scout out this location. I haven't played on this map at all, but I did kind of check it out before I started the series. And one thing I'll go ahead and note, I don't mean to be a buzzkill, but those of you wondering, oh man, since we're terraforming, does that mean eventually that's going to fill up with water? No. Unfortunately, the way that the dynamic water flooding system, well, there's actually not a dynamic water flooding system at all. I shouldn't say that there are those systems because it's not even there. It's not like in cities skylines, for instance, where you have water below a certain level and it can flood the terrain based on where you cut out terrain and based on where there are indentations and kind of lower altitude areas. So it's not quite that sophisticated. Hopefully one day it will be. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but we do have this big divot still, which we can explore later. And there's a really cool feature that's been introduced in Green Planet that you'll get to see as part of just having this nearby, which is another part of the rationale that I have for putting the colony here, like right by the cliff's edge. There is a method to that madness as well. So, power-wise, I don't want to go in too quickly, but I do think I want to go ahead. Let's see, roughly there or so. Good. Well, I can put it all the way out here. What I'm going to do is just have just two solar panels to start us off, and then we will need a wind turbine as well. So let's have 2 wind turbines, and I'm going to leave it at that. We don't need a lot of power, and frankly, I'm going to cut the wind turbine off. We only need the one for now. We need to conserve our resources as much as possible with this playthrough. All right, so here, let's go ahead and throw down 1 power accumulator. Doing a lot before we even unpause, I know, but we want the drones, especially on a high difficulty playthrough, you want your drones to kind of spring to life and have a lot that they're doing. All right, let's do a universal depot. Universal resource depot. I think I will have those alongside the eventual landing pad here. So why don't we put one there? And for now, I'm just going to use the universal one, but we'll eventually, well, I am going to be collecting lots of metal. So let's go ahead and start making our specific depots. Using your depots wisely in surviving Mars. This is where things get dropped off by all of your just drones that are collecting resources and shuttles eventually as well that fly around and help spread things around. And so this is how you set up your supply chains. Right now, we just need a centralized location for resource collection to bring everything that we find nearby. But let's see if we do, I'll tell you what, why don't we do over on this side, metal, and then we're going to have another depot for concrete. And we'll eventually have much more than that. All right, now before I unpause, I do want to go ahead and tell my first transport to load all the metal from that area and start bringing it to that location, please and thanks. And now, let's go up to speed 2 and let these guys go to work. So remember, this is a prefab. All they have to do is hop over here. Let's make this priority 1 because this will pop out a whole bunch of additional drones, which can help get everything else started more quickly. Current drones are still making sure that the rocket is unloaded. Right, there we go. Again, this requires no power or maintenance, so these guys are, and because we're playing a Space Y, words, we also have additional drones. So now a whole bunch more, specifically 8 more. Still a medium load of work though. So you can see the drones are keeping busy. So this Sterling power generator, I'm going to go ahead and open that thing up. It's not connected to the power lines yet, but it will be momentarily. We need metal in order to get everything fully running, but as you can see, the cables are already going down. We are nearing, it's past noon. Oh, meteor just landed in the lake bed down there. We're going to call that the lake bed because that's what it is, even though it's not going to fill up with water eventually, sadly. This is the kind of save that I would want to load back up once they introduced a fluid dynamic system so that we could actually, fill this up with water. How cool would that be? Game's not quite there yet. There are lakes that you can build. Obviously, there are lakes. But it doesn't work, like I mentioned, as it does in city skylines. Okay, so now this Stirling generator is powering the base. Not that there's anything that needs to be powered at the moment. We haven't discovered any water yet. Our sensor towers are running. Actually, yeah, the sensor towers do require power for now, so there's that. Here's our first Martian sunset. Fun fact, if you didn't know this, you've probably seen it in pictures, but if it's never been articulated, because of the atmospheric composition of Mars, they have reverse colors for our sky. So their sunsets are blue, and the day sky is orange or red, as opposed to the way it is here on Earth. So that is not a random sci-fi or video game trick that you just saw. If you've ever seen a picture of a Martian sunset, they are very blue as compared to our red sunsets on Earth. All right, so this RC transport is dropping off its first load of metals, which is going to be really handy for the other stuff we have to finish. We do have enough power for the concrete extractor to run all night. Oh, one thing I've forgotten to do. Let's go ahead and order a cargo rocket. Yeah, I'm way behind on this. So with prefabs, we need a moisture vaporator, a fuel refinery. I think I'll hold off on the Stirling generator. I will go ahead and order a polymer factory because that's going to be one of the very first things I want my initial colonists to be doing. I hope waiting this long to order the first shipment doesn't make me pay in some small way. Let's see. Let's go back. Now we do definitely want an RC Explorer. Do I want to go ahead and order the Commander as well in this shipment? Yeah, let's do it. The RC Commander is kind of a mobile command post. It has some additional drones that allow us to kind of run around and do things independent of structures or landed rockets that can control the drones. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility, especially in tight spots. So I think, yeah, let's just launch that. Our second rocket is on the way. Should have gotten that up sooner. If this all seems relaxed right now, that's just because we've played through one day. Wait for the cold snaps to start and the first colonists to arrive, and things are going to get pretty intense pretty quickly. But for now, I'm playing on speed 2. Hopefully you're soaking it in. If you're not familiar with the game, please, 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 please ask questions in the comments. I'm happy to talk to you. And there are other people who are familiar with the game who will be happy to clarify stuff in the comments as well.
Sector scanned.
Okay, so Sector J5 has been scanned. 47 metal there, which is good. Not much for our current RC transport to do. Let's see. I guess I will have you... Good, the Earth-Mars initiative is complete. All right, so you're going to load from here now. Hang on. Yeah, load from here. Load all metals from that region, and then bring them back there. All right, so with the Earth-Mars initiative done, good. That's what I was hoping for. This is very common as one of the first unlocks, so more applicants will start to appear on Earth. I will go ahead and queue that up. Remember, the next technology that we had queued up was already 50% completed, so that's going to be pretty quickly taken care of. Man, there's a lake bed inside this lake bed. Look at this. Really deep spot. We've got our own miniature Valles Marineris. The Marinara... No, wait. Hang on. Not Marinara. The Mariana Trench is the deepest point in the ocean on Earth, but Valles Marineris is that giant... Hang on, let's take a look at the planet. It's that thing. Just a giant freaking scar on the Martian surface, and definitely one of the first places that would fill up with water. By the way, our rival colonists look like we have Brazil. We have the colony of Paradox Interactive, what's up, Paradox? And we have the colony of India. By the way, just as a quick shout out, I wasn't able to get this content to the channel when Green Planet launched, but I was able, as I usually am, and I say that with gratitude, I was able to get press access to play this game before it came out and really familiarize myself with it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make content at that particular moment given the release window for the game, but I have, as I mentioned, been able to practice a good bit with Green Planet, and hopefully that will be reflected in the gameplay here. We're going to have to find out. Research cooperation, let's see. A new deep space telescope will be launched to scan the cosmos from a point even further out than Mars. The colony behind the telescope, Lambda Industries, has partnered with our sponsor to share the financial burden of the deep space launch. Our sponsor, not one to waste an opportunity to help their most ambitious project, says the splitting of the launch bill will basically pay for a single supply pod they can fill with cargo of our choosing. What do we pick? Okay, so we have a new RC transports, some extra resources, or 10 orbital probes. We could use some help with sector scanning. I kind of feel like that's the way to go, because one of the biggest decisions you have to make, I'm going to go ahead and pick that, and I'm going to explain that decision now that I've chosen it. One of the biggest decisions you have to make in the early game of surviving Mars. We don't know where water is right now. You can choose to be a hydro engineer as your commander profile, and that will tell you where the very first kind of, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and just land you right there. So the hydro engineer will tell you where your first water deposit is, and then you have to find the others. But without that, we don't know where any of them are. So we don't yet know where we're going to get the water for our initial colonists. So we really can't call colonists down to Mars until we have a working kind of water system. And we're just not there yet. So interesting times ahead, but that's one of the very first things you always have to do when you're starting off a fresh game of this. All right, so that thing has landed. Let's go ahead and break it down. We'll get 5 metal for that. It's not a lot, but that's enough. And now we have 10 more probes. So let's go ahead and just in order. 1, 2. Oh boy. I'm officially nervous. Okay, there we go. There is some water. Let's see. We actually, what all did I just, we've got a few anomalies, which is nice. We're about to have a cargo shuttle, or a cargo rocket drop that'll help us research those. We can't do that just yet with the rovers that we have planet-side at the moment. I have one more, so let's go ahead and use that. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and scan there, because there could be more water in this direction. But I want to keep looking in this direction. Now, of course, this giant ice patch over here is very likely where we'll find water. But I like that as a water location. That's manageable. We might have to do a little bit of work to get there. Our first drone hub, yeah, we're going to have to do a lot of work to get there, actually. We probably need to go ahead and order another drone hub. Because I'll show you why. So this first drone hub, they can take resources out to here. So I could connect another drone hub that kind of just barely connected at that same zone all the way over here. Wouldn't require power or maintenance, so it would be able to run. And then I could put a resource depot here that would allow them to shuttle resources between the two spots. But as you can see, that's not, it's just not big enough. We're going to need 2 at minimum. So we have a second one already, and I can go ahead and place that now, as a matter of fact, and I think I will, because we know where our first water is. But I actually, knowing that we are going to need a third one, I'm not going to worry as much as I normally might about having it overlap just barely like that. I would rather have a little bit of overlap between the actual bases, so the drones from this new hub can still help out with some construction projects. Tell you what, let's put you right... How picky do I want to be about this? That's the question. Let's put you right there. All right, so that's going to start in just a second. Now, as you can see, this guy landed and fried a bunch of my drones. I didn't think about that when I landed it there, but we found 4 new anomalies in one sector? Really? Oh, wait, no. That's just the anomalies we uncovered from all that scanning. Got really excited for a second. We did get some research by finding water on Mars. We've completed our low-G fungi research. So we can go ahead and research the Moxie upgrade. I'll queue that up. All right, let's let things continue to run for a moment. The drones are coming back online. Yes, they are back online now. Very good. And the second drone hub is coming online. Again, requires no power or maintenance, so I don't have to have lines coming out to it. It's just going to spit out some drones that'll help me collect resources immediately. Now, I did put this one slightly out of range of the metal and concrete depots on the far side there. So any metal they collect, they're going to take to this depot, which has a little bit more limited capacity, which is fine. I'm all right with that. This RC transport is still bringing stuff back and forth. Our first cargo rocket is about to drop. All right. Can I land you where... Oh, yes, I can. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, my God. Okay, so that's not... I was really thinking that anomaly would block that landing, but that's perfect. All right, so let's take this RC transport. I definitely want to have them help out with the metals and take some of them over to the far side since those drones are not going to be able to do that. All right, pretty big deal. This guy's going to land, and we're going to do a little bit of anomaly research then end this first episode. But this is pretty exciting stuff that we have all these anomalies to look into. It'll give us some research boosts and help us make some important decisions. Okay, so our RC commander is up and running. Let's go ahead and just kind of plop him over here. And we have the RC Explorer. I think what I'm going to do... So there are different types of anomalies in the game. This anomaly type will unlock additional technology types. One thing they've added in the most recent patch is you can finally queue up orders for these guys. I know, it's beautiful. So let's go ahead and scan that guy next, then that guy, then that guy. I would like to know what my new options are going to be first, because the other ones that I just queued up, those give you just big lump sums of research. And so I want to have technologies queued up that I want to knock out first. And knowing what kind of options I have before I get those big chunks of research is pretty critical. All right, so the RC commander's hanging out there. I'll move it a little bit farther that way so it can maybe help with that metal. It has just 4 drones with a capacity of 8. I could go ahead and reallocate the drones from... Let's see, where are you? There's that one, that one, that one, and... Uno mas. It must be on the rocket. There it is. All right, so we have... I want to be able to see them a little bit more distinctly. There we go. You... Oh, okay. Dang it. I'm not able to actually shift select these. I thought you could, but you can't. That's frustrating. So let's just reassign you to this command center. I'm going to do this one by one. And there's that. Okay, so let's see what we uncover from this research project. Couple of anomalies to look into before we end this first episode of the series. You might be starting to see why I play a lot of Surviving Mars on speed 2 and 3. Okay, so new techs available for research. Subsurface heating and systematic training. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Having subsurface heating right now, before anything else, is critical. Because we need that technology given that we are in the frozen far north of Mars. So we did gain some additional research from scanning that anomaly, so, which means we've finished our advanced Martian engines and we've unlocked the ability to build, well, the ability to research the ability to build the polymer and fuel refinery planet-side without having to order them as prefabricated buildings from Earth. All right, so this guy is now going to the next unlock location. We're going to look into that. And then the beginning of the next episode, we will just jump on getting some of that research done. So pretty good initial anomaly finds. I'm fairly pleased with where the water is as well. I suppose I should go ahead and order that next drone hub, shouldn't I? I don't think I need to order 2. I need to conserve my funds. I could queue up a moisture vaporator to have that on board. Already queued up one fuel refinery. I could queue up another one. We are going to have multiple rockets planet side. Now let's go ahead and queue up a second fuel refinery. I don't think I'll regret that decision at all. Maybe famous last words, we'll see. But all right, and we could order additional drones just to help out a little bit. Never hurts. Another option is to get a little bit of padding in terms of our resources here. Yeah, let's just go with an additional orbital probe as opposed to one more drone and 20 more polymers, machine parts, and electronics, just to ensure that we have a nice amount of those stored. I'm preparing for the worst because we have a 300% plus difficulty rating here, and these cold snaps are going to be a bitch until we can actually get Mars terraforming going. By the way, before I end the episode, I will talk about these meters up here. This is the major new interface element that you might be kind of wondering about. Each of these need to get all the way up to 100% if you want Mars to be fully terraformed. I was a little bit surprised to see them take that approach as opposed to the approach of using kind of balancing different numbers between the two, to where you could potentially go over your target mark and cause like overheating or, too much moisture, like a greenhouse effect, or I don't know how too much vegetation is a thing, but the point is that, well, actually too much atmosphere would be a greenhouse effect. Too much moisture would be, I don't know, a flooded planet, I suppose. But, okay, what do we have here? Hold that thought. Oh, holy crap. Holy crap. Lots of unlocks. Good God. Okay, well, I think I'm going to stick with, I'm glad to see the apartments tech is unlocked. We have water reclamation as well, greenhouse gases. So this helps us increase the temperature of Mars, which is handy, but not the atmosphere of Mars. We don't have those just yet. So we really, we're going to have to research some terraforming techs in order to unlock the building that will help us push this up, and then we'll push the temperature up. But the point is to get all of these up, and as these numbers climb, circumstances for the development of the colony change. For instance, hang on, let's go to overall terraforming progress, and you can see some of the milestones, actually all of the milestones right here. So you can pause it and look at this for a moment, but at different points as those numbers climb, certain things will go away. Like the cold snaps will end once we have 50% of the temperature gauge filled. So we're going to have to pay close attention to that, given that cold snaps are going to be the biggest threat to our colony. We're going to talk about that a good bit. I haven't messed too much with the space race content, so covert ops is something that's relatively new for me, and I'm excited to kind of dig into what we can do with that. I know we can trade with other colonies as well, so that might help us out in tight spots. And I'm open to your advice, by the way, because in the practice playthroughs that I've done, I have actually not had any rival colonies. Like I said, I've added some additional challenges for myself with this playthrough. I'm going to go ahead and stop this episode here. In the next one, which daily content is coming out every day at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, by the way, we are going to go after that water deposit and hopefully find more water, as well as get this research underway. And probably, I would imagine, within an episode or two, have our first cold snap, because let's face it, we're really far north, and that's going to happen a lot. So things are going to get pretty intense pretty quickly. Kind of a relaxing first episode, but don't be fooled. Lots of fun to come. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. New episodes, again, are coming out every day at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.